Good evening, everyone. EagleX from ATX EagleX Gaming here today, and I have a deck profile for you guys for Ultimate Cup. This is a Machinedramon deck profile. I not only have one deck profile, but I have two of them. One of them is an OTK build, and the other is a blocker deck profile that my friend Will from Locals made here. If you want to say hello, Will.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here.
Yeah. And this is something that he showed me, the blocker deck profile. I was really taken away from it, and I want to showcase it and include some people from our locals. So let's go ahead and get started with just general openers for Machinedramon as a whole. Because regardless of which style you play, it's going to be pretty similar. So first of all, this is actually, Machinedramon is Megazoo in disguise. Focuses around slamming a level 6. And this allows you to get larger, more powerful Digimon set up more quickly, whether this is aggressive or defensive. You're kind of saying, Will, this is like the only kind of reliable Megazoo in this format, right?
Yeah, ever since more option cards got added, Megazoo's kind of gone away. But Machinedramon is a very sticky body, and it's very hard to get rid of them. So you can usually go into a level 7 without risking too much.
Yeah, on top of that, you gain a lot of memory, too, when you play the level 6. So it's like you're not playing it for 12 ever. Ideally, you play the level 6 or 7 memory, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so when we're talking about ideal openers, there's some important cards in your opening hand. One of them is being EX1 Hagurumon and EX1 Guardramon. These are your best ways to cycle your hand, get machine or cyborg pieces in trash, actually put you +1, develop a board. Guardramon gets this from his inheritable of when attacking and trash a machine or cyborg to draw 2. Hagurumon's just pitch a card in hand, draw 2 on play. So they're really great to open with. And then the black EX1 level 5 pieces are really good, especially if you have that evil line. If you end your turn with a level 4, next turn you promote, go into a level 5. It puts more trash. It also gets you search for your level 6s, whether it's Machinedramon or Chaosdramon. Analog Youth and Ultimate Connections are also solid openers, but it's not your preferred opener, as you want to save Ultimate Connections so you can guarantee a Machinedramon at 1 memory. Analog Youth, he's a great setup, but he doesn't put a Digimon on the board. Is there anything else you want to add here, Will, about openers or something I might have missed?
Well, one thing about Ultimate Connection, if I end it with it in my hand and I don't have a level 5, you can't use it. So it does have that caveat of you need the level 5 in your hand to be able to use Ultimate Connection. Other than that, Hagurumon is also I love starting with him. He's so fun.
Yeah, and starting a memory fixer is never bad either, because it gives you a turn to draw another card, more or less. But yeah, these are like you're saying, though, connection, it does have that caveat you have to be aware of. Let's go ahead and move on to some of our combos for the blocker-oriented version of the deck. So just real quickly before we talk about these combos, Machinedramon, if you guys don't know, is on the screen. On play, you put 5 level 5 or red, black or red cyborg machines from your trash and or hand into sources. You gain a memory for each one you put under. So 12 minus the 5 is how you get the 7 memory. All turns, his DP can't be reduced, so no Wyvern's Breaths on Machinedramon. Then all turns, if Machinedramon would be deleted, you trash 2 of your sources to prevent the deletion. Well, when you combine this with a card like All Delete, and you would pop in the entire board, Machinedramon can actually stay alive, which is the first point to be mindful of when you play this. You do need the Omnimon in the field, so whether you've Digivolved over another Machinedramon or they checked a Zwart defeat in security, that works as well. Will, do you want to go ahead and talk about some of these other points?
Of course. Personally, I do use the Zwart defeat in it because if he does come out of security, you have a guaranteed all delete at that point. Analog Youth sadly doesn't work if Machinedramon doesn't die, so you kind of have to. You can let him die and end their turn early to trigger your Analog Youth if you think you can get the game. Sadly, also, Craniumon doesn't doesn't prevent deletion because it's only under your opponent's effect. So you will end up wiping your own board if you all delete while Craniumon's on the board. And then personally, my favorite is I did put in B Cyclone. So you can get +1 check on almost all of your Digimon out of nowhere and go for that surprise finish because no one plays B-Cyclone.
Yeah, and when it mentions that it's an aura effect, if you cast it, then go into like a Chaosdramon, then gain blocker, he will have that security attack buff. And that's kind of how you finish the game with the blocker build, which we can go ahead and do the entire deck profile now. But this is the first deck profile we have for this video. And because you're a blocker-heavy deck, you're going to be playing a bit slow. You'll do pokes, you'll reboot, have blocker. You'll put up a wall that's really hard for your opponent to deal with. So that's why your investment in defensive cards is great, and B-Cyclone is really needed to help apply that pressure because games are going really fast in the BT7 format. And like we were saying, Alt Elite's a really strong clear. It not only gets rid of Digimon, but all Tamers as well. So if you're playing against Blue Hybrid that has 5 of their 13 Tamers on board, guess what? You just cleared all those Tamers. And ideally, you leave a Machinedramon on the field with some strong sources still. And we kind of talked, Will, earlier today, and you were talking about how you considered making some changes to your deck. What are some changes you were considering?
Some changes is I don't really like the Black Memory Boost. I put it in mostly for some extra search, but you can replace that with the Taikamiya from the starter deck that will let you block again. It's kind of like a mini Mechanorimon effect at that point. If you want to be more aggressive with it, rather than fully block oriented, you can remove the Craniumons and put in the Chaosdramons and have that, because a lot of the hybrids are 6k DP or less. So when you go into Chaosdramon, it's typically a board wipe. So it is very effective overall. Other than that, some other cards, Breath of the Gods, can help your Craniumon not get deleted by Wyvern's Breath. Finals of Bagon Punch is also another good tech for a finishing blow. And then, of course, some other Tamers. It's really what fits your preference.
Yeah, TK card is like a punish for your opponent being aggressive early game, which is great for Machinedramon. Gives you time to set up and build the board you want, right?
Exactly, and then nothing hurts more than whenever they try to be aggressive, they hit the feed insecurity, and then not only do you not have a level 7, you now have a TK Kari active.
Yeah, and you can start plussing memory. And just one last little quirk is Final Zubagon Punch. You target a defeat, he becomes a blocker with reboot that if they somehow kill the defeat, he pops another guy as well. Just a fun little thing there.
Yeah, that's why I'm always happy whenever I get a Megadramon with the blocker inheritable underneath defeat. It's like, I now have a defeat that's a blocker. I'll kill probably 2 of your Digimon at this point.
Which is a really big thing, actually, having Megadramon, which is inheritable blocker, versus Andromon, which is blocker while you're a machine. That is a slight difference to be aware of in this deck as well.
Also, it's when it's your opponent's turn. That is kind of not the best part about some of these AX1 cards. It's when only affecting on the opponent's turn. So it does kind of limit what you can do. But you still have so many other options that it doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah. So actually, that's going to kind of bridge into our next section about the OTK build of Machinedramon. This is a build I really like. So we all know when you slam Machinedramon, you're going to have 5 sources. Well, the red tamer Taikamiya says if you have 4 more sources and you're a red Digimon, get an extra security check. So with this build, you're going to be oriented around putting all the security attack +1 effects underneath your Machinedramon with some DP buffs. I just kind of threw an example stack here of 5 unique pieces. Go into Chaosdramon for 1, Tai is live, you swing security, and you'll go for a lot of checks, and it is possible to OTK. So Taikamiya gives a buff if you're in Chaosdramon, which is red with all these sources. When you go into Chaosdramon, though, you have to be mindful that you shove a Digimon from your hand or trash underneath for his Digivolving effect. And it could be a duplicate one you already had. So it could be a second War Growlmon from the starter deck. It could be a second Megadramon. When we look at all these security attack +1 pieces, Will, which one would you say is probably the strongest one?
I think by default it has to be Megadramon because it doesn't have a condition like War Growlmon or Volcanomon?
Yeah, Volcanomon, I think is his name.
Yeah. It's just Volcanomon, Voltramon. It's just, okay, everybody calm down. So Megadramon is probably the best one in my opinion because it has an unconditional, well, unconditional in terms of you just have to be a machine, which you're playing just machines usually. War Gromon is probably the second best, in my opinion, for Chaosdramon, because whenever you go into Chaosdramon, he will more than likely destroy a Digimon, which will trigger War Gromon's effect.
Yep, and then Volcanomon's kind of hard to proc because you have to have unsuspended Digimon on your opponent's side. They could be aggressive, they attack. So it's probably the most conditional. And then,
yeah, especially since you're not playing the blocker variant, they don't really care about attacking you because you're not going to block them.
Exactly. And then to get that last check, after you cleave for 5 damage, ideally, with the Chaosdramon stack, you go to Blitz on you get that ideally 6 check for game because you're attacking with a new Digimon swing. So we talked about this goofy combo. What does the deck profile look like? Well, you look at this deck profile, and first of all, it's Machinedramon. It's going to be very similar overall to the other Machinedramon build. You run for Machinedramon, but you do emphasize for Chaosdramon, as that's one of the enablers of your deck. If you look through here, you're going to have a very similar rookie base. You could be slightly more defensive with Mechanoris, but ideally you do have an opener where you can go up into a level 5 with a Taikamiya out. Ultimate Connection is a great way to get pieces in the trash, and you have a lot more search in this build with analog use. You emphasize that a lot because it helps get your pieces you need. But just overall, we're talking about OTK deck, and ideally you get your 5 checks. Like we were saying, though, your most common uses get extra checks is going to be the EX1 Megadramon and the starter deck War Growlmon. Additionally, cards you can consider using is Metal Greymon. The biggest issue with Metal Greymon's inheritable is the timing, like Will was saying, between your turn and your opponent's turn. Because, correct me if I'm wrong here, Will, but the Metal Tyrannomon says your opponent's turn is when you get reboot, right?
Yeah, it is only on your opponent's turn. If you were to run the Metal Greymon, I would recommend removing the Commandramon and putting in Toy Agumon. That way you do get reboot, but again, it is a little bit more difficult to get the OTK out in that case.
Yeah, and Breath of the Gods is an alternative way to get reboot on the stack, on top of denying DP reduction, which is kind of neat. So if you have a tie out, you go to Chaosdramon, you shove a Metal Greymon, you cast Breath of the Gods, your DP won't be reduced, you have reboot, so you get the extra check. Then you can swing for a lot, or you get Chaosdramon for 1. If you have one of the Digimon to give you extra DP, like the Metal Greymon or the BT6 Megadramon, Zubagon Punch could be live if you build it around that. And then, kind of like before, TK Kari is a way to slow down your opponent, punish them for hitting you early, and the memory plussing is always really nice. Is there any thoughts you have to wrap up on the OTK deck variant, Will?
I overall love the OTK variant. One thing that this can do that the black variant can't is when you play that Metal Greymon from BT7, you can play the tie because he's a red tamer.
Yeah, is he only red tamers, the Metal Greymon?
Metal Greymon can only bring out red tamers, so in the OTK variant, you can bring out that tie on turn 1.
Which is actually really fun. You gain the 2 memory, 2 from playing the tamer, right?
No, for Metal Greymon is whenever you play him, you can then play a tamer if you don't already have one. If you have one, you then gain 2 memory.
Okay, so that's where the memory gaining comes from. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's not all we have for this video today. We're actually going to talk about the future of Machinedramon. Because something really cool Will and I were talking about today is like, hey, Zach, you should talk about the future of this deck. And I'm like, well, why is that? Well, started looking a little bit more, and there's actually a lot of support for Machinedramon in the future. So if you feel like I don't want to invest in this deck for BT7, it's going to die, just be patient. There will be cards coming out. BT9, EX2, the ones I really like is the Kazu Shioda Tamer, which is literally a cyborg machine tamer, and Heavy Machine Digimon's Advance. It's a little bit more quirky of one, but I really do like them, and you become more toolboxy. So, like you're saying, well, like every time they add a level 5, you have to consider, is this Machinedramon support, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, like I have the Andromon highlight, the Cyberdramon, which I think is the biggest one of the new pieces. You have the Metal Greymon, Megadramon dual color cards, the new War Growlmon.
If I had to pick, though, my favorite would be the BT8 Metal Greymon. Not only are we getting it like right off in a few weeks, we will. It also does make the EX, I believe it was the EX1 Metal Greymon a little bit better because you can give it piercing and you can attack an unsuspended Digimon. That means every time you can start wiping the board and hit their security at the same time.
And that's actually a really good point to bring up. It makes the older pieces even better for some of them, like the piercing one, like you're saying. Swing over a Digimon. Why not?
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Will, for your time today. I know this is something that I was really looking forward to making a deck profile of. With that being said, if you guys enjoyed this content, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. With that being said, take care, y'all, and have a nice evening.
Bye, y'all.